Well, it is 6:05, and that means it is our start time. Welcome, everyone, to the Interpersonal Toastmasters. This is our kickoff meeting. We're really excited to have you here as we launch this. I would like for everyone to introduce and give a warm welcome to Salazar de la Porta, who will be our Toastmaster of the evening and leading us in the processions. Salazar has a lot of experience, specifically with District 101, in helping clubs launch like ours. So everyone give a Toastmasters jazz hands and welcome Salazar to the virtual podium.
All right, thank you, Kenneth. But to get us started, let's have Elizabeth Chaturas give us a thought for the day to start us out. So Elizabeth, please proceed.
Thank you, Toastmaster. I'm excited to share this quote with you today. It's one of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou. Some of you may have heard it before. It goes like this. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
hope today to make you all feel excited, inspired, and curious about what we can all achieve together. Thank you.
Thank you,
Toastmaster.
Elizabeth. Now I'm going to ask everybody, if you're not speaking, to please mute your microphone so that we're not picking up background noise. And for those of you who've heard of Toastmasters but have never participated, it is certainly the leading organization for communication and leadership. And interpersonal communications wants to take that a little further to teach people to communicate for better connection and better rapport with each other. So it's a very specific direction that they want to take. This is what we call a demonstration meeting. It's going to be a short version of a Toastmaster meeting, a little sample. It's not a full-fledged example of a meeting. And since it's called a demonstration meeting, we're going to have certain functions that we're going to demonstrate for you that are part of the Toastmasters meeting. We're going to start with, we're going to have a standard speech by someone. And our speaker today is Jamal George. Jamal, please explain what you're going to be doing with your speech today.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. I will be giving a prepared speech, and this speech is 4 to 6 minutes, and it's prepared on a Toastmasters Pathway program. And my speech will be evaluated by the evaluator, and this will help me to improve my speaking skills, as well as find out the areas of improvement and what I did well. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Jamal. But now I'm going to ask the evaluator to tell us what she'll be doing as your evaluator, even though you gave us a cue to that. Elizabeth, please.
Thank you, Salazar. My job as the evaluator today is to evaluate Jamal's speech. This will be her level 1 speech, which will be on any topic, and she needs to present a well-organized speech. And then she will take the feedback that she gets from her speech and then develop another speech. So I will be looking to give her some feedback so that she can use and improve her next speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So the other thing that we do in Toastmasters is we do prepared speeches to match our educational program. And then we also do a portion where we do impromptu speaking. And that portion of the meeting is called Table Topics. And our Table Topics master today is Kenneth Lacashman. So Kenneth, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing later in the meeting.
Yeah, thank you for that, Salazar. So my job is to help folks who want to improve their public speaking, maybe aren't yet ready for a full-on prepared speech, but want to get a taste of it. So we're going to be doing 1 to 2 minute quick responses, and we'll have time for a handful of them. Tonight's theme is going to be, all of these questions are pre-prepared. They're going to be really approachable and really easy to take and make your own. All that I would ask is that you show up and say something. It doesn't have to be good. You can stumble. You can use ums, ahs, all of those good things. It's just about participation. Back to you, Toastmaster Salazar.
Thank you so very, very much. Now, if you haven't picked up that a good portion of the Toastmasters process is about members helping members. That's why we have an evaluator to say, here's what I saw, heard, and felt from your presentation. That's why we also have the impromptu speaking, which says, let's just try to do something that we do in a normal daily day. When someone asks us a question, we don't know what's coming, but we want to learn to provide a coherent, cogent response. But the other part of the meeting are the other functionaries that help us do things. One of the key ones is our timer, because in Toastmasters, we want to speak within the allotted times. So our timer today is John Estrada. John, would you please explain to us what you'll be doing for us today?
Thank you, Salazar. My name is John Estrada. I'm going to be your timer today. And as Salazar said, this is going to help all your speakers to make sure that you are staying on time, and helps you to make sure that you're not rambling on and going on and on and on forever and not know it. So if you are going to be speaking today, you could always hover over my little Brady Bunch square, click on the 3 dots and pin me, because at each point, I will be changing my background to reflect where you are in your speech. For instance, for Jamal, when she hits 4 minutes, my background is turned green. 5 minutes, yellow and red. At 6 minutes. Same thing with when we do our table topics. When you hit that 1 minute, you're going to see a green. 1 minute, 30 seconds, yellow, and a red at 2 minutes. That means you got to wrap it up. Don't go on and on and on and on. And this is going to stay there until you are finished. I will give a report at the end of how everybody did on managing their time, which is a critical piece of Toastmasters.
Thank you so much, John. And of course, our evaluator is 2 to 3 minutes. So she'll have a 2 minutes of green, 2:30 of yellow, a red at 3. And so this is not to scare you, but for those of you asked a table topic question, try to talk until you see the green, as Kenneth said. Don't worry about what you're saying, try to talk. But one of the other things we want to do is improve the clarity of our communication, because we have a tendency to create these filler situations. And the person who's going to help us with that today is our counter, Rebecca Bowermaster. So Rebecca, please let us know what you'll be doing for us today.
Thank you, Salazar. As counter, it's my duty to make you aware of your little double clutches and so's, anything that you're verbalizing that isn't productive to the forward progress of your speech. If we were in person, I would have a clicker so you could hear it. Since we're on Zoom, I don't want to interrupt your speech and break your audio. I will not be clicking, but I will be recording, and I'll provide a report to you at the end of the meeting. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And all of us build up all of those habits. So it's a great way. Once we know that we're doing it, it's easy to work on preventing them. Let's get started into the heart of what we're dealing with today. As mentioned already, Jamal George is our speaker. She's speaking from Pathways Level 1, which is the educational program for Toastmasters. Her Level 1 Pathways is effective coaching. And today's speech is My Evolution. Let's welcome Jamal George.
My lovely sister calls me at work unexpectedly. Jamal, what's going on with your sister-in-law? She's having a surgery tomorrow. What? Where did you get that information from? I spoke to her last week and I thought everything is fine. She posted it on Facebook and there's so many likes, comments, and well wishes. Hey, Jamal, how come you don't know about this? Isn't it weird that she didn't tell you about this? Fellow Toastmasters and my dear guests, I wanted to be there for my sister-in-law, but what came out of me was an impulsive reaction to that news. I sent her an email right away saying that she did not do the right thing by not informing me. Later that night, when I met my husband after work, he was like, Jamal, why did you send that email? What? I did the right thing. She did not inform me. Well, she mentioned a few weeks back that she has leg pain. Maybe it's related to that. But no matter what, that is not the email to send. Send her an apology right away. Ouch. What did I just do? What example did I set here? I feel so sad. I wanted to take that email back. I could have handled the situation much better. After reading the book, Emotional Intelligence and Why It Matters More Than IQ by Daniel Goleman, I realized that impulsive control is very important. Sometimes when we don't react from our heart, we sever the relationship. When I heard the news, I could have taken a deep breath and let it go, gone for a walk, or meditated to buy some time so I can think rationally rather than react immediately. And after due deliberation, I could have called my husband or called my sister-in-law to check on her and see how things are doing. And by that, I make a connection, have empathy, understanding her needs, and be of help and support. Recently, I took a communication style quiz from the Toastmasters Pathways program, and I found out that I scored high on initiative communication style. And that explains why I'm energetic and fast-paced. I respond strongly to praise and approval and thrive in a stimulating, personal, and friendly environment. And at times, I can be impulsive as well. And this gets me into trouble more often than not. I realize that when I change my approach in communication style, this will make a positive impact in my life. Communication styles are situational, and all four styles, direct, analytical, supportive, and initiative, are at our disposal. We can decide the style that is effective based on feedback and outcome. I now make a conscious effort to adapt my communication style to fit the situation or team or person. And to my Toastmasters meeting, I am working on developing my supportive and analytical communication style. My close friend reminds me always, our relationship matters a lot. If we screw it up, it's very tough to get it back. Give the person the benefit of doubt. Now, give people a piece of your heart and not a piece of your mind. Toastmasters.
Thank you very much, Jamal. Go ahead and remove the spotlight. Got it. All right. Thank you so very, very much. Now, while the evaluator prepares the evaluation from that presentation, and some of you mull it over and think what you might share, we're going to go to that impromptu speaking portion of the meeting we mentioned earlier, and we'll take it away with our table topics master, Kenneth Lakashman.
Thank you very much, Salazar. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just to guide the conversation a little bit. And can everyone see a presentation of some kind? Cool.
Yeah.
So I am going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So as we've said before, it's going to be 1 to 2 minutes. That's all we're looking for. I'm going to put a question on the screen. Speak to wherever it takes you. It doesn't matter if you have no real good planned response. It doesn't matter if you get some word vomit. That's okay. It's part of the process. If you are up to participate, I would ask that if you could give using either a raised hand or use the Zoom raise hand function to help signal to me that you're interested in participating tonight. That would really help me out. Otherwise, I'll have to choose some victims or volunteers, depending on which way you look at it. With that, I would like to start with my first question. My first question of the day is, if you had 1 more hour, what would you do with it? And I see Lois is raising her hand. So Lois, if you had 1 more hour in the day, what would you do with it? And you're on mute, Lois.
If I had 1 more hour of the day, I would be more appreciative and grateful and be present more in the small, everyday circumstances in my life, especially with my family, my pet, and with myself, to be more present in feeling alive and being grateful for the day that's at hand. If I had 1 more hour in the day, I would choose also to be more loving, more kind, more graceful with myself as well as people I encounter. It's no point in being harsh with people or judgmental or opinionated or worse things like harsh and critical. It's more important to be a good human being, to be kind, generous, good qualities that I think we all would appreciate. We all look for the kinder, gentler side in life. I think that's a much more necessary thing to be in this world where there's a great deal of unkindness and harshness and judgmentalness. So if I had 1 more day, I'd try to be more alive, more present, more human. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Toastmaster Lois. For those who are feeling perhaps a little shy about participating, whenever you're done, whenever you're like, okay, I think I've made it far enough. John over there, his thing's gone to green. How do I wrap this up? How do I close? One technique you can always use is just back to you, Toastmaster Kenneth. Just for anybody else who's giving a shot tonight and may not know, how do I wrap this up? Where's my crescendo? That was really great, Lois, though. I can only imagine what you're doing with the 24 hours you already have. My next question is, it's never too late to start. Going back to school. If you were going back to school today and you could study anything with the knowledge you now have, what would you study? I'm going to call on Esha. I hope I'm saying that right. Esha, what would you study if you were going back to school today?
Hi. Yeah, so I think I would go back to school to study design, and I would like to know, kind of dive deeper into design and how I can use design to kind of make the world a better place. I would want to know how I can design someone's life, how I can design, how I can use design in business and technology, and how you can create something awesome with it. I would like to also study. I would also like to study fine arts, I think, because I don't exactly know the medium of art I would choose, but I would choose, either graphic design or something to do with design as well. Back to you, Kenneth. Sorry, that's all I have so far.
That was great. Actually, I've got a whole lot of work that I need done in Illustrator. I'll hit you up later.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, my next question is I see Ace has his hand up. Ace, what's something that's on your bucket list?
One thing on my bucket list is to travel Italy, Europe in general. I'm always fascinated about that part of the world because it's a different culture. And I've only spent my entire life here in the United States and the Philippines. And I always like exploring the world. So I will go to Italy. And back to you, Toastmaster Kenneth.
Thank you so much, Ace. I don't know if you've seen ever, but what's his name? Oh my gosh. The late night host Conan has a wonderful trip to Italy. I highly recommend you check that one out. It is hilarious.
I will do
let's see.
that. Thank you.
I think we have time for one more. And Abhishek, if you want to go camera on, Abhishek.
Hey, yeah.
It is never too late to change your relationship with someone. Who is one person in your life who maybe at one time or another you had a falling out with and you'd like to reconnect with? Tell us about them.
Yeah, I would say I had a couple of friends growing up, but with whom I have lost touch as our lives got so busy. And I feel like relationships are a two-way street, and we are always waiting for the other person to go ahead and connect with us. And so I would basically change one thing in that I would not feel awkward being the first one to reconnect. And even if I have to reconnect more often with other friends as well and be the first one every time. So that is one thing I would change. And that is something I would adjust to in order to maintain healthy relationships in general. So that is one thing. Yeah. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you so much for that, Abhishek. That is all the time we have for Table Topics. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. There will be more of these each and every week. And I will turn things back over to Toastmaster Salazar.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. I really appreciate that. Now we get into the report card portion of the meeting. And that is, and by the way, I want to thank all of you who participated because you really did wonderfully. That 1 minute seems to take a long time till you get used to it. So, but I want to get to the report card portion of the meeting where we start taking a look at how well we've done and what we've been doing. We'll start with our evaluator, Elizabeth, who will be evaluating Jamal's speech. So Elizabeth, it's all yours.
Thank you, Toastmasters. This was the first speech that I've heard from Jamal, and I was moved. Her speech topic was so relevant to the idea behind this club about interpersonal relationships. During my evaluation, I was looking to see what I saw, what I heard, what I felt in Jamal's speech. And something I really liked that I saw and heard was the way she shared her conversations that she had with her sister and her husband. And she moved back and forth to take the place of the person who was speaking. And this was so effective for me because I could tell that she was changing voice and she was changing her position to describe these conversations. I also was moved by what you had to say. I could relate to the feeling that you shared when you were confronted with the realization that you didn't behave your best. After bringing us to that realization, which we've probably all felt in our lives, we could have done better. You shared with us some helpful tips about ways to try to do things different. You made some really helpful recommendations. Taking a breath, going for a walk, These are things that are so good to be reminded of. I loved the pacing of your talk. And I am struggling very hard to try to find an area for you to improve this speech. That's part of what an evaluator is supposed to do. Say what was good, say what they liked, and then say, here's what you could do next time. Perhaps give some more meaty examples from your own life. I love it when people share more examples. But the speech as it was presented really hit the spot for me. So thank you, Jamal.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. And just for those listening too, yes, one of the things we do in the evaluation is we want to try to give the speaker something to improve. But let's keep in mind, if you don't see anything that you would change about the speech, it's perfectly okay to say that. It's not a question of each of us are experts and we have to say, Jamal, you needed to stand 5 feet taller, serve some tea while you were doing it, and then tell us all about your family history. If we were really very comfortable and very moved by the presentation given. So keep that in mind going forward. We're here to help each other, but we're also here to be honest with each other at the same time. And speaking of being honest, let's hear how we did on a timing perspective from our timer today, John Estrada. How did we do in all of our timings today, John?
We did a fantastic job, Salazar. Jamal, you did 5 minutes and 35 seconds. And for our table topics, Lois, you did 1 minute and 56 seconds. Excellent use of your time. We have Esha, we have 46 seconds. Ace, 31 seconds. Work on maybe going a little bit more next time. And Abhishek did 49 seconds. And for our evaluator of the day, Elizabeth, we did 2 minutes and 32 seconds. So everybody did a fantastic job. So Lazard, take it away.
John, for all of that, I really appreciate that. And thank you everyone once again for your contributions. Like I said, in table topics, that 1 minute can seem like a long time till we get used to it. But once we get used to it, it's easy enough. But then we have our filler words that we still need to hear about. So how many of us were relying on our crutches to fill in those pregnant pauses? So Rebecca, please let us know how we did from the Odd Counters report.
Thank you, Salazar. We had a lot of speakers today, so I'm going to identify the top 2 areas for improvement for each speaker. Kenneth, you did really well until you got a little flustered at the end when you were playing it by ear, and then you had 2 double clutches and 4 ahs or uhs right in a row. Salazar, a couple of run-on sentences or sentences that start unnecessarily with an and or a so, as well as a double clutch. Jamal, you did phenomenal. You had 1 and 1 like that were most likely unnecessary. John, you had a couple of ands or so's to tie together sentences that did not need to be tied together, and a couple of ahs. Lois, you did really well. My thing for you was the lip smacking when you finished a thought, something to look out for. Esha, you had a lot of ahs and uhs as you were transitioning thoughts or tying together sentences. Ace, I only had 1 and or so and 1 for you. Abhishek, a lot of ands as you were tying together sentences, and a few ahs when you were stumbling, I think, for a word choice. Elizabeth, you did really well on your evaluation. I only have 1 and 1 so, but I did notice there was a lot of clicking, and I'm not sure if that was a microphone or background noise. So something to look out for in that context. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you so much, Rebecca. So as you can see, all of us have a little something to work on. It's when we start moving ahead of our thought process and we tend to add in those fillers, but we all do it. So let me ask you a question for those of you attending that have never been to a Toastmaster meeting before. Did you see any value in what we presented to here? Did you feel value for what you could gain from this process? How about a show of hands for those? I saw Lois nodding her head. So Lois, you're on my head nodder thing. So
Okay.
so much. Now, the interesting thing about get that now, The interesting thing about Toastmasters is that it's a learn as you do process. It's not something where we study it for days and then we do something. We do prepare our speeches. We do prepare our meetings, but we get to do. Now, two things I want to share is one, I spent 21 years in the Marine Corps. I went through the enlisted ranks to the officer ranks before I retired. And one thing I love about Toastmasters is it's one of the best leadership development programs that I've ever seen. And I want to throw those things together because we do several things in Toastmasters. One is we provide this mutually supportive environment called the club, and members are supporting other members in their growth. That's what we're here for. We're not here to criticize, to judge, or anything else. We're here to support everybody's growth. And because of that, the leadership development in Toastmasters is something that you're able to build on in a very gradual building block process and really expand with that. And Rebecca earlier in the week had shared some information that she gained in her leadership journey in Toastmasters. And I'd like to ask her to share some of what you experienced, Rebecca.
Thanks, Salazar. I used Toastmasters and specifically Toastmasters officer positions as an indicator that I was ready for a greater leadership responsibility. And it really paid off whenever it came time for a leadership position open in my department. I was able to put myself forward and I had demonstrated abilities through coordinating Toastmasters tasks and our club. So I was able to show that, as a VPE, I could help people develop. And as a VP of membership, I could be gregarious and find the right people for a team and bring them in. And VPPR showed that I had, solid communication skills and wasn't afraid to cold call people or send that tough email sometimes when you need to, get some name or some information out there. So try to think of these officer roles and as Toastmasters in general as a really great development opportunity for wherever it is that you want to go.
Thank you, Rebecca. Now, actually, Rebecca went a little further than I expected, and I'm grateful that she did, because what we're looking for is every club has what's known as an executive committee. It's 7 officers. Now, we already have a president that will be Jamal. We already have a vice president of education who helps coordinate the education, the meetings, and that's Elizabeth. We have a treasurer, that's Kenneth. But we still have other officer positions, and the officers are the ones who get the most learning, especially starting out on a new club. Because as Rebecca indicated, it's a team that comes together to collaborate, coordinate, and start developing the guidance of the club moving forward. So it's really wonderful if you're getting in at this starting ground, because all of you who join now in this club will be what's known as charter members. You will be the cornerstone of this club for the history of this club. But on top of that, those of you who are officers will actually gain greater development in your leadership process going through the development of this club. So for instance, one of the roles that was mentioned by Rebecca is the vice president of membership. And the vice president of membership traditionally is responsible for greeting new guests, welcoming them, helping them become comfortable with the club, and then helping those guests become members in the club. So it's a great way if you want to develop those intrapersonal skills of meeting with people, establishing rapport, and creating connection. It's a great way to further refine that development. And don't think to yourself, oh, I have to be an extrovert. I've got to be an outgoing person to do it. Absolutely not. I've got to tell you, I learned all my social skills from Toastmasters, which means I was a very introverted Marine that was only out there to do Marine things. And if it wasn't a Marine thing, I didn't want to talk to you. But Toastmasters teaches you those skills. So is anybody interested in maybe trying to be the vice president of membership of this club? Trying to be the one that helps guests become welcome to the club and then helps those guests become members. It's coordinating with people, it's staying in touch with people, staying in contact with people, and it's watching those people grow. Anyone interested in the vice president of membership role? Come on, Ace. I know you were going to raise your hand. You did. There you did. See,
Try.
You were going to raise your hand. You thought you could fool me. You almost did. You almost did. So Ace is our vice president of membership. Give it to him for stepping forward. My goodness. You know, another one that Rebecca mentioned, of course, is that Vice President of Public Relations. Now, this is a great one, especially if you like your social media. You know, this is where you get to do the outreach. So the Vice President of Public Relations kind of works with the Vice President of Membership. Vice President of Public Relations brings people to the door. Vice President of Membership takes them at the door and says, "Hi, I'm Ace. I'm your man. I'm going to help you through this process." And then he carries them forward. But if you're good with social media, if you like to do outreach, if you like to do, someone mentioned earlier, Esha, I think, about graphics design. If you like to do those types of things, that's what a Vice President of Public Relations does. They're producing the flyers, the notifications, the graphics, the social media output to try to get people to come to your club and be interested in it. So does anybody want to try that? Esha, would you like to give a shot of be the VPPR since you like the graphics design piece? No, she's shaking her head no. And she's not going to come off mute when she shakes her head no at me.
Sorry, no, I was I was about to say that I would love to give it a try. I mean, if that's something that I could be successful at.
You can be successful. And as a matter of fact, with this team that we already have in place, you will be successful because they're here for that. So Esha, congratulations to be the Vice President of
Thank
Public.
you.
I thought you were shaking your head no, though.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's my yes.
Yeah. Now, the other thing we need, of course, every club has to have, in order for the club to formally charter, we actually have to have the role of secretary. Now, let's talk about what a secretary does. The secretary keeps the minutes of all the meetings, and there's a form. You fill it out. It says who attended, who spoke, who evaluated, those types of things. And that's the history of the club. So the secretary keeps the history of the club. Secretary also helps update certain things like the officer list. You'll change officers every 6 months in the club as we go through these different cycles because this club will meet every week. So when we change those officers, the secretary will be responsible for updating online the new officers. It's just an issue of keeping the history of things that are going on in a very simple way. And again, we do all of this stuff in a simple way. It's not complex. So is there anyone who would like to try by being the really historian of the club, by being the secretary and keeping track of things and keeping track of what happens at each of the meetings? Anyone want to give that a shot? And the club can't charter without a secretary. So I know one of you really wants this club to charter. So that's a good time to be a secretary. Come on, Kate, you didn't want us to call on you for table topics. You could at least be the secretary. I'm just saying. She's saying no.
Good try, but
Yeah.
I'm going to pass right now. Thank you.
I know, and I'm not shy about trying.
That's
Anyone
okay.
want to give a shot at being the secretary? Because we will need one. Boy, nobody. Look at Danny even frowned at me when I raised my hand. He said, "Don't even mention my name." But we have one more. And Jamal.
Shweta
can
just
do.
raised her.
Oh, Shweta, excellent, excellent, excellent. You know, may your house be always blessed.
Thank you.
We have one more, and this is actually, in my opinion, a fun one for someone who's the most hesitant to want to speak in the group, and that's the Sergeant at Arms. The Sergeant at Arms would do a little bit like Kenneth did at the very beginning. They'll start every meeting. They'll welcome guests, they'll start every meeting, and just like you had a thought of the day, which you'll have as a function, the Sergeant at Arms might even have something they want to add into that. You know, for today's meeting, I had a thought. You could add that in, even though you have a thought of the day. So it's a good opportunity to practice every week, just speaking in front of the group in a non-threatening way, and then becoming more comfortable with that. Now, in a physical environment with a physical club, Sergeant at Arms keeps track of equipment and different things like that. But in a Zoom environment, there's no equipment to keep track of. So would someone like to be the one who starts every meeting and really tries something different by doing that, by being the Sergeant at Arms for the club? I'm going to go to page 2. I know page 2, somebody has their hand up. I know it's not just me. It's a good one, especially if you're the most hesitant about speaking in front of the group. Within a month, you'll have the comfort to be more capable of speaking in front of the group just by being sergeant at arms. It's the best way to break that ice. And remember, we can't conquer anything or get past anything if we let the fear hold us back. So let's go ahead. Somebody wants to be sergeant at arms. See, Susie just turned off her video. She said, I don't want him to call me.
Sri Nagi Reddy is interested.
I missed the name.
Sri.
Sri, S-R-I. You just raised his
All
hand.
right, you got it? All right, oh, Sri, there you are. Hey, thank you all. You are now the mind meld. You are the mind group of this club. You are the mastermind of this club. And then Jamal will be getting together with all of you to talk about going forward. Well, we need something else going forward because next week is the first meeting of the club. You're not chartered yet, but it's the first meeting. So now this is the one that's going to get all of you nervous. Who wants to give their first speech? Now, the first speech in a Toastmasters Club is one we call an icebreaker. And here's what happens. An icebreaker is a speech about you, any aspect of you, a hobby, an interest, something you're studying. It could be what you binge watch. It could be any aspect, but it's an introduction of you to the rest of the club. Now, in my time in Toastmasters, I've given 12 icebreakers because we keep coming back through the cycle. And each time I keep finding something new about myself. I'm not sure I knew the guy before, but I always know the one now. So anybody would like, it's a 4 to 6 minute speech. You're given guidelines. You're given a process and an instructional sheet that explains how to do it. And it's just about you. You don't have to research it. It could be anything. It could be what you studied. It could be about brothers and sisters. It could be about your experience where you work. Any little aspect of that. Just 2 people who want to give a try at saying, I want to try my first Toastmaster speech. And remember, everybody has to give an icebreaker in Toastmasters. So it's not, go ahead.
Danny has raised the hand. Danny and Carol.
All right, Carol, which Carol?
It's Kirill. It has his hand up.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. So we'll get those going and then your officer team can help put together. Does anybody want to try being a Toastmaster? Maybe the officer team will do that. You guys can put together your team from there. We've got our 2 icebreakers. We'll get the information out to you so you can start planning that. And remember, use your Toastmaster guides of Kenneth, Jamal, and Elizabeth to also ask questions about how do I do this icebreaker? What do I do? How do I do it? I want to explain that there is no wrong way to do an icebreaker. No wrong way at all. But there's the big but. We want to know something about you. It doesn't have to be your deepest, darkest secret, but it's something. It doesn't really matter what it was. One fellow one time at a meeting told all about his experience panning gold, but nothing about himself. So tell us something about you, something that you're willing to share with us, because again, in intrapersonal communications, what we're trying to do is get that rapport with each other by knowing about each other, sharing with each other, supporting each other, and affirming each other. So that's what we do going forward. Now, are there any other questions before I return control to Kenneth? Does anyone have any question that they would like to ask?
Susie Lou raised her hand. Susie?
Yes, sorry. Was talking about I turned off my camera because I'm actually from Australia, so the time probably would be hard to suit. That's the only reason. So I just want to clarify that. And I assume everyone is from US, I guess.
By the way, Susie, I apologize for that, but if you knew me, you would know you didn't need to respond to that at all, because I'm just a smart aleck that's going to throw something out. So thank you so much for sharing that, and also for being here today. to
Thank you.
now in the chat, by the way, Jamal has put down the interpersonal communication, interpersonaltm@gmail.com, which is the email for all of you going forward. Now, it's really important that you start considering your membership, getting membership applications completed, moving forward to this club. We need to get 20 members for the club. We need to get that going forward so we can charter the club so you can be an official club. Once you're an official club, you'll get access to the educational program online. In the meantime, we can do some of that offline, but we want to get you going because, you know, Toastmasters says that Toastmasters International empowers people to achieve their full potential and realize their dreams. We do this by creating a program, just as we said for the leadership, that keeps you inching forward step by step for your own personal growth. In other words, the growth of ACE is not going to be the same as my growth, or the growth of Abhijit is not going to be the same as Carol's growth. We are driving our own personal growth by using the Toastmaster program so that we can see our own improvement and get the growth that we most want to get. And all of us in this club, as you can see on the club mission that was on the agenda that I didn't refer to, but the club is here to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. That sounds pretty out there, but it's true. And the Intrapersonal Communication Club wants to take it even deeper by really creating those connections, that collaboration, and that relationships among its members through communication and leadership. So with that, I'm going to take my time and turn it back over to Kenneth for any final announcements or thoughts or anything that he or Jamal may want to share. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you so much, Salazar. It was great. Thank you so much for the help. So I want to relay a couple of thoughts. If you enjoyed tonight, this is going to keep happening, and it's going to happen every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you haven't already gotten on your calendar, you can add it now. It's going to be on the 16th. It'll be on the same Zoom link. We'll have Kirill, and we will have Danny giving us some icebreakers. We're still going to have things like table topics, and we're going to have a couple of other, signature special things that are just for this club. And we'll talk about those more on the next meeting. For folks like Susie, this is going to be a Zoom meeting. If you're from Australia or Denver or wherever, stay. We want to have you, and we'd love to have you. So this is going to be a Zoom meeting for the foreseeable future. Please, please, please don't let geography limit you from attending and participating in our club. We would love to have you. Toastmasters as a whole is an international organization. So we're all about having folks from all corners of the globe. Other thoughts. Let's see. We will be in touch with our new officers, Ace, Esha, Shweta, and Sri. Guys, we will be in touch by tonight with a couple of directions. We're going to want to sync up with you guys to help plan for the next meeting on the 16th. For everyone else, we look forward to seeing you on the 16th. And thank you so much for showing up tonight. I'll turn things over to Club President Jamal George if she has any closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Before that, I would like to ask Krill. I believe he has a question. He raised his hands.
It's not a
Hello?
question. I just have my raised hands for the icebreaker part. So I'm going to lower my hand now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is such a wonderful place to open up and have compassionate, to learn to have compassionate with one another. And we are going to grow together in a positive and a mutually supportive environment. We're going to learn how to speak well, be an effective communicator, as well as an effective leader as well. So I really, really enjoyed your company today, and we look forward to meeting you in the next meeting. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Also, remind everyone, Jamal put a feedback form in the chat. Please go ahead and click that link, provide the feedback as to how you felt about the meeting and what you've experienced today.
And one more thought for Carol and Danny. Thank you guys for standing up to go be icebreakers. I'm going to be in touch with just some additional resources to help maybe guide your first one. If you've never done Toastmasters before, I know when I did my first icebreaker, I was really grateful that I had a mentor who just kind of was like, yeah, don't be nervous. Here's an example. We'll be in touch with some resources. So we're not going to throw you out in the middle of the water without a life ring. We'll be in touch as well this week. And with that, we're going to go ahead and close the meeting. Feel free to hang around. We might, hang out, maybe listen to some karaoke music. But these meetings will be 1 hour as part of how we're running it. We want to make sure that we keep true to that commitment. And so, yeah, we're going to go ahead and close our meeting early, and we really look forward to seeing you all next week. Jamal, I think you have another thing.
Yeah, feel free to share your email address with me or put it in the form. So at least in that way, I'll be able to reach out to you if you're interested in the next meeting and, want to learn more. Just feel free to share your email address. Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Well, good night, everyone, and see you guys next week.